Levels. There are 3 different types of level adjustments on the GT10. It's important to understand how they work so that you don't exceed the headroom of your GT10. If this threshold is exceeded, it will result in nasty, unwanted distortion known as clipping. To better understand this, I have intentionally recorded an example where the levels are not set correctly. You can easily hear the distortion that has been caused by exceeding the level threshold, and as I zoom into the waveform, you can clearly see the clipping that has occurred as a result. Now if I adjust the levels correctly, you can instantly hear and see the difference. So let's have a look at the 3 tiers of level adjustment within the GT10. Effects level. Each individual effects block has its own independent volume level that can be adjusted depending on how much you want to hear of its respective effect. Some effects have a separate level for the effects signal and the direct signal so that you can blend the two. It's important to consider that the individual levels from all the effects within your patch will have a huge impact on the overall patch level, and that the level of one effect will have an impact on the effect that follows it in the chain. For example, using the flanger with an effect level and direct level both set at 100 may create some problems with clipping, as you heard from the previous example. I'd start with both at 50 and then adjust depending on what you want to hear. If you are turning an effect on or off within a patch, such as the flanger, you won't want a big jump in volume, so I would recommend checking this by toggling the effect on and off and making your adjustments accordingly. Once you have placed all the effects within your patch and you are happy with the individual module levels, use the patch level to set the overall volume of the patch. Simply press the master button and then enter the master page to access the patch level function. As mentioned earlier, I have the patch level assigned to the number 4 parameter knob so that it is convenient to adjust on the fly. Output level. The knob that is situated to the left of the display adjusts the overall level of the GT10. It is global, so once you are happy with the balance between your individual patches, use this knob to turn the GT10 up or down as a whole. There are many different factors that affect the perceived level that are coming from your different patches. Now, as an example, distorted patches, particularly when you're playing in a band, distortion tends to get soaked up by all the other instrumentation, whereas clean sounds will cut through a lot easier. Distorted sounds that may have more mids in them may cut through a bit more. So as a result, you may find that if you're playing solos and they're just not cutting through the rest of the band, you might need to introduce a few more mids into your lead tone. Now, in itself, balancing patches is probably one of the hardest things to do because, they don't always have to be all 100% the same volume. And the reason that is when the band is playing things using like clean sounds and where the dynamics are less, everyone tends to play a bit softer. The drummer doesn't play as hard, etc. Whereas as soon as you kick in your big distortion tone, drummer starts banging away and the bass player's thumping away at the bass. So all of a sudden, everyone dynamically starts getting louder. So if your patches were all 100% the same, then you're going to find that your distortion just may not be enough when everyone else starts, really going for it. So there's a couple of different ways that you can try to combat this. Now, I generally start with my loudest sound or my dirty patch. So in this case, for instance, now when I switch to my clean, I don't want the clean to totally disappear. I want it to be there and cut through, but I don't want it to basically take anything away from how dynamic the heavy is. For instance, if I'm playing clean, I want to be able to punch in my dirty with some with some impact. Okay, if there's no impact there, then it kind of defeats the purpose of punching into a dirty sound. So, you know, I'll generally use one patch as my cornerstone and then balance the levels of all the other patches around it. Now, the great thing with the GT10 particularly is the patch edit function in the phrase loop, because it allows you to be able to play in, say, a rhythm and then toggle through your patches and see the balance between them. Now, let's just have a look at that. First of all, let's go in and change the actual phrase loop feature. So let's go into System and let's go to Phrase Loop. Now you want to make sure that the mode is set to Patch Edit. Now we're going to talk more about the phrase loop feature shortly, and I'll show you some other cool things. But for the moment, just set it to Patch Edit. I've got my the play level set to 100, so that it's pretty much the same level as I played it in. And I've got it, for the purposes of this demonstration, I've just got it set to mono. Okay, so let's just exit out of there. I'll press both bank buttons to engage my phrase. Here we go, and I'll just play in a dirty thing. Play it back. Okay, now I can change patches. Go to my wah. So I can pretty much go through all my patches in real time just using that same phrase without having to play something in, adjust, play, adjust. And as I mentioned earlier, I set the patch level to my parameter knob number 4, so I can actually get it playing back and change the patch level in real time. So to give you an example, so on and so forth. But if I change patches after I've adjusted something, I'll lose the changes that I've made to that particular patch. So I have to write the changes. So if I make an adjustment, press write twice. Now it will disable the phrase loop. The loop is still there. I can just pretty much push play again and it'll start. So there you go. There's a simple way that you can basically play in a loop and be toggling around your different patches to get an idea of the different levels between them. Now, where this is particularly handy is in a live scenario where if you're at your sound check, basically play something in. When the band's playing, jump out the front, have a listen to everything through the PA, and if you can convince your singer or bass player to toggle between your dirty and your clean sounds while the whole band is playing, that's the best way to hear whether there's an imbalance in your patches.